Far out in the Indian Ocean lies a desolate atoll, Tromelin Island. Today it is uninhabited, a tiny speck of land battered by the sea. But over 2 centuries ago, this island bore witness to an incredible tale of survival, tragedy, and resilience. This is the story of the Malagasy slaves marooned on Tromelin Island for 15 years. Before we dive in, we'd be grateful if you subscribe to our channel and like this video. In 1761, the French East India Company dispatched l'Util, a sturdy cargo ship, to transport supplies between Madagascar and Mauritius. Officially, the ship's mission was legitimate and straightforward, but hidden in its hold was a grim secret: 160 Malagasy men, women, and children enslaved against their will. The ship's captain, John Lafargue, carried 2 maps. One was the official East India Company navigation chart, meant to guide l'Util along its lawful trade route. The other, more secretive map was his personal guide to avoid patrols and smuggle slaves to French colonies illegally. This second map charted a faster, riskier route through uncharted waters, a path that would ultimately lead to disaster. Driven by greed, Lafargue chose the clandestine route, ignoring warnings of treacherous reefs and uncharted shallows. As they approached Tromelin Island, the crew spotted jagged coral reefs, but the captain pressed on, confident in his ability to navigate. On the night of July 31st, 1761, l'Util struck the reef with a deafening crash. The ship began to sink, leaving its passengers scrambling for survival. Of the 160 Malagasy slaves and the French crew, many perished in the chaos. Those who survived found themselves stranded on a desolate coral atoll, Tromelin Island. Stranded on Tromelin Island, the Malagasy survivors faced a grim reality. The island offered no fresh water, no trees for shade, and no fertile soil for crops. Yet they refused to succumb to despair. Their survival became a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. The survivors began by salvaging whatever they could from the wreckage of l'Util. Using planks of wood, nails, and ropes, they built makeshift shelters to shield themselves from the harsh sun and relentless winds. Their homes were simple but sturdy, anchored in the sand with heavy stones. With no vegetation or crops, their only source of food came from the sea. The Malagasy survivors became skilled fishermen, crafting spears and hooks from scrap metal salvaged from the ship. They hunted fish, caught crabs, and even managed to snare seabirds. During turtle nesting season, they dug carefully in the sand to collect eggs, a vital source of nutrition. Fresh water was their most precious resource. Rainfall on Tromelin Island was infrequent, but the survivors devised ingenious ways to collect it. They dug shallow pits in the sand, lining them with cloth or metal to trap and store rainwater. When the rains came, they gathered every drop they could. Fire was essential for cooking and warmth during the cold nights. The Malagasy used pieces of flint from the wreckage to create sparks, igniting bird feathers, dried seaweed, and other flammable materials they found on the island. Their ability to create and sustain fire was key to their survival. From the debris of l'Util, they fashioned tools and utensils. Metal scraps became knives and spearheads. Wooden beams were turned into fishing rods and harpoons. Even discarded bones from seabirds and turtles were repurposed into needles and hooks. Large shells served as bowls and containers, while torn fabric from the ship's sails was used to weave nets and ropes. Despite their dire circumstances, the Malagasy formed a close-knit community. They divided tasks. Some fished, others cooked, and others maintained the shelters. Songs and shared meals became a way to preserve their spirits and their culture, a defiant act of humanity in the face of unimaginable hardship. The survivors endured for 15 years. With their ingenuity and determination, they transformed a barren atoll into a home, even as the hope of rescue faded with each passing day. Their story is not just one of survival, but of resilience, resourcefulness, and the enduring power of the human spirit. While the Malagasy survivors battled for their lives on Tromelin Island, far away in Mauritius, one man refused to let their plight be forgotten. Chevalier de Tromelin, a French naval officer, learned about the stranded slaves from the ship's crew who had escaped. He was appalled that no effort had been made to rescue them. Tromelin was relentless. He wrote letter after letter to French colonial administrators and naval commanders, pleading for a rescue mission. But his requests were met with excuses: lack of funds, insufficient ships, and the low priority given to enslaved individuals. Months turned into years, and still no action was taken. After over a decade of delays, Tromelin took matters into his own hands. By 1776, he had risen to the rank of naval officer and finally commanded a ship of his own, La Dauphine. Determined to make amends for the years of neglect, he prepared his vessel for the long and dangerous voyage to Tromelin Island. 15 years after their abandonment, the Malagasy survivors saw a ship approach the island. It was Tromelin's La Dauphine, bringing hope that had once seemed impossible. When Tromelin and his crew landed, they found just 7 women and 1 8-month-old child still alive. These survivors had endured unimaginable hardship, their resilience keeping them alive for over a decade. Chevalier de Tromelin ensured their safe passage to Mauritius, where they were finally freed from the shackles of slavery. Though their ordeal had ended, questions remained about the indifference and inhumanity that had left them stranded for so long. Tromelin's relentless advocacy serves as a reminder of the power of persistence and compassion. Without his determination, the survivors of Tromelin Island might have remained forgotten forever. His actions may not have undone the wrongs of the past, but they ensured that these 8 lives were saved and their story remembered. If you like our content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click the bell icon to get instant updates when we post.